Alright folks, so I've not done a video like this in quite some time. And it's specifically going to be laying track on this video and starting to finish out this inner main line coming out into here. So we can go ahead and get our inner main line coming out here and going out into where we need it for it to go. Today is focus day. We're not going to be climbing around, messing around, doing all kind of crazy shit. Let's go ahead and get this track laid in here. It should be a pretty quick thing, and I'm going to try to do it as easy as I can because you're not going to see it. So it's very basic to know that, of course, you're going to need a Dremel to do this job or rail nippers. Nothing fancy here, just a regular attachment here you get from Walmart with a cheap little disc, because believe me, you will break a bunch of these little bastards. Tool number 2 would be a hot glue gun in my preference, because I'm not putting no cork road bed on it. I'm just gluing the track to the top of the foam, and I'm making it as simple as I can until I get it out here. Then I'll change things when I get it out here. Real simple. Cutters to cut the ties. And very most important solder, which I'm using a rosin core flux solder. The flux is already in the solder, so it makes short work where you just solder the track to each other. Real simple. Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is we want to figure out where we're going to put this radius at. Okay, we don't want to go too much of a sharp radius because your larger locomotives will derail. So we have to figure out what kind of radius we want. There's 100 different ways to do but while I'm leaning over like this and I just want to get it done, I'm gonna go ahead and take a 22-inch radius preset track already and kind of put on top of it. Okay, we're gonna put on top of it and give that curvature to it. It kind of tells me about what it needs to do, and basically that's a little bit more than 22-inch radius here. You can get away with that. So that's why we want it. I'm gonna kind of mark it here. Should have a Sharpie for right here, but while my back is cramped up and I already have it, I'm just gonna kind of mark where it's at. All right, now I know where that track, this end has to follow. Very simple tools and tricks you can do, folks. Before we go any further, we gotta cut the ties out of it. And I like to go as shallow as possible with the ties. I don't like to take too many out, but I'm gonna have to see. Okay. All right. See what it looks like back in our mark here. All right, so now we know that. Let's go ahead and see if I can hold that there. Let me get another pin and pin that so it holds like this. Let's see. Just kind of get it close. It don't have to be 100% perfect. We kind of got it in the ballpark what we wanted to do. Okay, we're close enough there, but as you can see here, this rail is longer than this one. Very simple, we'll true that up with our Dremel. All right, so we got 2 uniform pieces that's not too far from the rail here, and it's less space that can walk on you and you don't have to replace ties. Doing good so far. We're gonna go ahead and put a rail joiner on. Put 2 rail joiners on there, get that ready. Them into place. Again, don't be afraid of your rail. Pick your rail up. Don't be afraid of messing with it. Go ahead and put it on. Set it back and pin. The object and key thing here to do is pin as you go. Okay, you want to keep your track pinned at all times. Okay. You don't get out of sequence like that, in my opinion. There's other ways to do it. Again, this is not rocket science, and we do not want to make it rocket science. Next is we take our piece of rail we want to connect to what you just seen me do. And as you know, a flex piece of track, you have to clip the ties off. So start off with clipping 2. 2 ties would be plenty. All right, now we got our 2 done here. And on this end, we're gonna do the same thing also, just so that we don't have to fight with it later. Boom, done. Now this is where a lot of people mess up at when they're messing with flex track, okay? This is the tricky part with flex track. keep this straight to what you're going into, okay? We already know that this is curved. We're not worried about none of this right now. Right now, what we want to do is we want to keep this as flush as we can and as tight as we can into the existing track, okay? Now note that one of your rails move forward. You may have to switch your track around to accommodate the furthest rail that's in. So let's say this rail is longer and this rail is shorter. That's perfect for me because I can just slide this in and it matches up perfect. So right there we have a tight fit. If you're not sure and you gotta take your nail on your rail joiner and pull it in a little bit, pull it in a little bit on this one also. Now, very crucial this part. Again, keep it sequenced in and solder the son of a bitch. This is where your rosin core solder comes in at. The thin rosin core is gonna be 0.8 millimeters thick, okay? That's where this comes in because it has the flux built into it. And straight up, you don't have to do nothing while you're bent over and crammed in a position you don't want to be in very long, and you just touch onto your track and melt that booger in there. Very, very simple. Once you get the solder on there, you just flow it in. Top of the rail, you're done. One side done, very simple. Do the same here, kiss it with some solder. The more solder you got in a curve, the better off you are, because that's what's gonna make or break, that can probably cause a kink if that's not welded right. So I'm done with the soldering, that's it, okay? We have to keep this radius what we need to keep it at. We're not worried about this yet. This is child's play. We need to work back to out, okay? So this is our 22-inch radius. We're going to double check what we got here. In fact, we have more than a 22-inch radius here. Probably looking around a 23 to a 24 due to the curvature I can see on this preset. So anything, when you put this on your track to measure your curves, and again, folks, everybody get their own preference. This is the way I do it when I'm cramped over and just trying to get this laid in. So just make sure that this track that you're laying matches your curvature. They got mathematicians out there, but we're no mathematicians. So let's go ahead and glue that in. Right there looks good. I'm happy with it. We're gonna move that out of the way. We're gonna put a little bead right here. Just hot glue, that's all it is. For me, I'm gonna use hot glue. Okay. Okay, folks, what I just showed you, the way I soldered it in and showed you the presets, that's gonna work 100%. I did glue it down, so I had to take it back up because of making the video, in my mind, I was showing you, I forgot to allow my easement for my swoop to come out. So that means backing the track up a little bit, okay? This is preferably for me, for my layout. This is not gonna work out on, you have to figure out your own easement, okay? Here's what I'm talking about. In order for this to make its radius and come out as close as you can to your table here, the more of a swoop back it has to be to come closer. The more it's closer here, the more it comes out here. We don't want that, if you're following. So I had to unglue what I did and shove it back. The same radius, the same everything, is just shoved back. Same exact thing. You can see where I had it glued here and it was following in here. That was me not thinking. Everything was correct here, but the easement wasn't correct. That was me not thinking, okay? For myself. So again, you're gonna go ahead and test out your easement, your radius easement. And it's the same procedure. That's 22, 22, 22. So we know that's 22 all up in here. So go ahead and mark it. Don't get confused, folks. Very simple. This is my preference for my layout. It's the exact same concept here. So we're gonna pin it just like you seen a while ago. We're gonna pin it here so it don't move. And that's it. Just glue this thing once and for all. Glue more up here where I glued it at first, because let it melt some of that. like a dodo, trying to show you something, and then I'm screwing myself out of my own way out. That's it. So we know we're 22 inch in here. Let's finally run the train and see what it does. Okay, so we're doing a very basic train run, and just strictly want to show you this part. And we're going to slow her down a little bit. So those locomotives, if y'all don't know, those diesel 6 axles can handle an 18-inch radius minimum. Okay, so that's around 22 or more, 22, 23, or even 24 in some spots. So I may have to tighten that radius up to come out and turn it into an 18. I don't want to, but we'll find out what we have to do whenever we come out here. Yeah, she's coming in. I was surprised the track wasn't that dirty. All right, moment of truth. Now, the way we did it, let's see if she holds without derailing. No derailing there. No derailing there. Nor there. Nor there. So basically, that concept will work, as you can see. Let's reverse this. So folks, that concept works. It's the easiest concept to use. The biggest thing is your easement you have to figure out, such as where your track, you have to either move forward or backwards, depending on your easements. Mine, I had to shove backwards. But as far as placing the presets on top and measuring that way, works every time for me. I did most of this layout like that. Even up in where the bridge is at here, I did. Here, I was fighting with it. This is around an 18-inch minimum in some spots. It's 4%, but it holds true on that mountain. So everything I've done, I've used that easement and my common sense and the preset part here also. So that's it, folks. Hope you liked the video. I'm gonna shut this train down. Hope that's helped somebody that's getting into the model railroading business. Please like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next.